Hello, this is Brian Foster on Cardac Radio, presenting the program Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us. Hello, on this October 14th, 2018, we are here for another broadcast of our every Sunday afternoon, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, all time zones in between, and time zones around the world. Every Sunday we are here. This is Brian Foster of nwspiritism.com on Cardac Radio, on the Facebook page, live streaming on the Facebook page, and we are on live on Cardac Radio. Cardac Radio is an app you can download on your PlayStation, on your Android phone, or your App Store, on your Apple phone, and you can get Cardac Radio programs 24 hours a day. There are many different speakers, all wonderful, giving you all aspects of interesting facets of Spiritism. Now, first, what is Spiritism? It's right here. This is where it started. Allan Kardec, the codifier of Spiritism. This is why we have Cardac Radio Facebook page. We have Cardac Radio on your iPhone and Android phone. And we have, hello, Jacob. When we have Spiritist centers through quite a few major cities in the United States. We are just beginning. And for those of you who have no Spiritist centers close to you, try to start your own group. Now, if you're trying to look for a Spiritist center, you can go to there's Barry. Hello, Barry. You can go to my website, nwspiritism.com, and you can go to, there's a top tabs of Spiritist meetings, and in there you'll see a link to the different Spiritist centers throughout the United States. So again, you can try that if possible. If not, start looking on your own. Again, you can get the Spirits book on PDF if you like. You can also get it on, if you click on the picture of Allan Kardec, there's Dania. You can, click the picture of Allan Kardec on the right-hand side of my blog. It will take you to the EDICI bookstore, and you can get his books on that site, or of course you can find them at Amazon.com. And as I said before, you can find Allan Kardec's books on PDF. Just put Allan Kardec space PDF on your DuckDuckGo search engine, and it will list where you can find them on PDF. That's how I found them. Again, so what are we talking about today? Sunday, October 14th. We are talking about a constructive speech. Now, in this book, How to Live, what I did is there was a poem by Andre Luis. He sent that to Chico Xavier, and he wrote a poem with 24 verses. And verse 4, in each verse, was talking about what we need to do in order to improve. How do we become better people, better spirits? How do we improve? And verse 4, these very short verse poems, was a constructive speech. So, and what I wrote this book is to take each line in that poem, say, what does he mean by each thing? So this is where, and you can get my book, of course, on my blog, nwspiritism.com. So this is very important. And of course, we all know that we should speak constructively. But what does it mean? What do the spirits mean by a constructive speech? So this is what we will examine today. So let's ask ourselves the question, how often do we really speak constructively? Meaning communicating on a topic that is meant to help, guide, or enlighten a person or organization towards a worthwhile goal. If we look at ourselves realistically, the time spent on edifying conversations is woefully low compared to our daily output of speech. Now, that's not to say that's bad, and I just want to put everything in perspective, because our normal day is, we have to spend time, we have to give directions, we talk the little pleasantries that we all say just to keep our social circle or work, keep going, right? So that none of that should be discontinued, or even time spent on idle fancy should be suspended. No, I'm not saying any of that. If we can't be productive when we are trying to help someone, right, or we're trying to communicate something important, we should try to be constructive, meaning positive, or be at least neutral, but not negative in a personal sense towards other. Does that make sense? So when you see a problem, analyze it and attempt to rectify it if you're so asked or if you think you should. Whining and complaining about the people who may have started the debacle to begin with does no good. It will only serve to waste time and raise defenses amongst those who perceive they are being blamed. Of course, none of us like it, do we? If we think we're being blamed, what do? We shut down immediately. But if someone comes to us and even if we make a problem of our own, own construction, right? It's if someone says, okay, let's see how we can solve this problem, and they don't start out like, wow, how did you do that? You're so stupid. And we feel so much better like, okay, let's solve this problem together. And I've seen that even at work is when there's something we have to do, there's an obstacle we have to overcome. It's like, okay, how can we solve that problem? You don't waste time blaming other people. Now, the spirit realm gives us some help on this. So the spirit realm notifies us that we need to learn to control our speech when we want to speak constructively. In the book, Our Daily Bread by the Spirit Emmanuel, this is what he says about how to control our speech. The tongue holds the divine spark of the word. However, people usually divert it from its edifying function and place it in the swamp of subaltern thoughts. This is why we see it at the forefront of nearly all the folly of suffering humankind, which is dead set on its petty objectives that lack humility and love. War is born from the subject of unsatisfied criminal interest. Great social tragedies are often caused by conversations based on inferior sentiments. People's tongues have seldom consoled or edified their brothers or sisters. Instead, they are always ready to excite, argue, depress, slander, accuse, and harm mercilessly. So it's very true, is it not? Most people, they love gossip. They love to talk about other people. Who hasn't had the family member, friend, or neighbor that loves to reveal the latest gossip to you, particularly gossip that has been directed at you? They consciously or unconsciously love to get you to stoop to their level of constant agitation. They only seem happy when drilling one more hole into your peace of mind. And this is really what all these verses are, is to get us our inner peace. Right? That's what my book is, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. When you let people get to you and they try to tell you these things, don't let it affect you. There is an infinite supply of people and circumstances to rile you up, is there not? The vast majority of our media exists on the precept of distressing people instead of healing. This is why one of the first steps to stay in the zone of constructive speech is to eliminate or cut back viewing news programs, right? It is perfectly fine to watch or read about analysis on events, but always try to discern the biased view of the journalist. They are not providing news most of the time. They are selling. They are selling a concept to keep you angry, so you are motivated to continue reading or watching to determine the outcome. Reject their view of the world, right? It is one based upon crass consumerism. This is what TV, radio, everything. It's to engage us, but it's not to engage us constructively. It's to engage us emotionally. In most cases, it has to be, because if not, they wouldn't be paid to promote it. Search out those voices of reason and good cheer who remain positive and are motivated to see all sides of a story. Look at events from a platform of love and fraternity. Analyze everything from a long arc of learning. Since everyone is on this planet with the aim of repairing past wrongs and experiencing new trials to promote their better character. Now, what does the Spirit tell us about speech? Well, the first thing we all know, and this is, everything gets back to this is why we're on this world, is speech is initiated by thought. Really, what your thought is the first thing. And this is what I've said probably every program in some sort of way or not, is we are on earth to start modifying our character, our personality. And how do we do that? We modify our thoughts. So everything really begins with thought. And this is what is said by the spirits. They say it is a bad habit to cultivate destructive, pejorative, troubling thoughts, because emitting them will create factors that facilitate their condensation in the emotional and physical arenas. Every time one thinks about something unpleasant that is expected to happen, and it actually does, it is time to change the way one formulates ideas, constructing them in an edifying and positive manner. Then one will see events change, become happier and more comforting. We do not mean to say that the mere fact of developing an idea, what one wants or plans for, will necessarily happen. Nevertheless, the mental wave will act as a proprietary factor which will contribute to rendering the desired variable. In addition, one must not fail to invest effort and intent so as to make it real, constructive, and edifying. This is what the Spirit Joanna D'Angelo says. She provides, so many of her books provides valuable instruction to not only help us on earth, but more importantly, to prepare us for life on the other side. This is why we're here. We are here to prepare for life in the spirit world. The more we prepare here, the better we are able to control our thoughts. And we all know, look, this is hard here. Because here on earth, let's look at today. If you watch TV today, you have, just anywhere you go, radio, TV, you hear these constant commercials, this constant propaganda wanting you to buy something. They're a sports team you root for or not. Politics are going on right now, and all of this is what I would say is get up on the 10,000-foot level and look at it like, okay, it's just a game, right? I don't need to buy this thing. Politics are about as important as when you were in high school and someone elected their student body president. If you look at things over your immortal life and the thousands of lives or hundreds of lives you've had, it doesn't really matter. What really matters is for you to love other people, be honorable, charitable, and to work on yourself. And in this environment we're in, whatever the politics, whatever we are, if we're poor or rich or middle class, or we live in a nice place or a bad place, it's all meant to help you solve those blemishes of character that you're meant to improve. Everything is there for a reason. So use what's around you to your own edification. Use it to improve yourself. So on earth, let's talk about speech and thought now. On earth, words flow out and dissipate into the atmosphere, right? I talk, there's a vibration, and it just goes away. And these sounds travel only so far, and they're lost as far as we're concerned, right? If we say something really low under our breath, we don't expect the other person to hear it, right? We just, just to help us. So spoken ideas are limited and transitory. They mainly serve to set up action or feelings. On the other hand, words, which are in reality vocalized thoughts, are real in the spirit world. Now, so here on earth, even our thoughts don't, they don't affect that much. Our words even don't affect that much, right? They may hurt other people, which is not good. But, we always, is words or something. Their words are kind of not as important, right, as action as we think here on our earthly plane. But all of that changes when we go to the spirit world. In the spirit world, thoughts are action and thoughts are reality. This is the great, one of the great revelations of Spiritism. This is why it's so important to understand that as we can control our thoughts here on earth, it's going to be so much better for us in the spirit world. Our outlook, ideas, views, and beliefs shape the world around us and place us with others of like mind. It's the law of affinity. This concept, this eternal truth, cannot be stressed enough. We shall leave this temporary and brief moment on earth and be reborn in the realm of spirits. Hence, when Andres Luis's poem, Inner Peace, extols us to have a constructive speech, he is in fact foreshadowing our future. Our destiny as a spirit is to reside in the land that was created by thought, not by natural forces as we see them. All objects in the spirit world were manufactured by the express will of high spirits, whether it was the mountains, the seas, the cities, the plains, the castles, the flowers, and the evolution of animals, all born of an idea informed by collective will, power, and faith. One day we will be high enough spirit to create our own house, to create, as we go up and up in the spirit world, we'll create things too. And in order for us to create things, we have to control our thoughts. So hence, to rise, to take your place amongst the spirits who create, you must control your mind. The starting place is to control your mind, is to control what comes out of it, your speech. So how do we start on this road to self-improvement? And this is kind of the whole part of my book. So I take what Underly says, okay, and I try to explain what they mean by it. And then I try and explain, okay, how do we accomplish it? So, what is the road to a constructive speech? Well, the first step, and this is hard, and I'm still not there, is to stop complaining. At least consciously pare it down considerably. This is what I'm trying to do. Have I eliminated this facet from my character entirely? No, unfortunately not, but I try and catch myself and I try to think of things to be grateful about. Again, this is where the Joanna Dowell just says, at every day we should think about, five things, love, compassion, goodness, faith in our destiny as created by the spirit world, by God and Jesus, and gratitude that we're here and able to go through this. That helps, right? In the book, Our Daily Bread by the Spirit Emmanuel, psychographed by Chico Xavier, there's a chapter titled Complaining. And it starts a quote from the Apostle Paul. And he said, it is do everything without complaining or arguing. Boy, I wish I could do that, but hopefully I can try. And this is what he said. This is what's said in this chapter. There's never been an argument that was not preceded by complaining. It is an ancient habit of thoughtlessness to seek ingratitude, moral misery, pride, vanity, and all the other scourges that ruin souls in this world in order to organize conversations of darkness where goodness, love, and truth are the focus of malice. When someone begins to find little reasons to complain a lot, they should perform a rigorous self-examination to see if they are not suffering from the terrible illness of complaining. Of course, those who are carrying out their duties on the list of righteous activities will not have time to complain. The disciple must be on guard against accumulators of destructive energies because, generally speaking, their pernicious influence has invaded nearly every corner of struggle on the planet. They are easy to identify. For them, everything is wrong. Nothing works. One should not expect anything better in anything. Their speech is constantly irritable and remarks unjust and discouraging. Oh, hello, Sylvia. So I'll go on what he's saying. Let us strive with all our might against these humiliating mental attitudes. Trusting in God, let us expand our hopes and be assured that, as the old proverb says, an optimistic heart is the medical prescription for peace and joy. So what are they telling us? So they're telling us to remove that poisonous sac from our body. Cast off the urge to remonstrate to the world everything you had found to be lacking. But you may ask, why should I? There are many injustices, and I shouldn't have to suffer so. So again, this is another great lesson given to us by Spiritism. The circumstances you may detest today, the reasons that you feel are responsible for your inability to attain your desires, are all there for a purpose. I cannot repeat this enough. Everything's there for a purpose. Each and every large and small obstacle is but one entry in your grand lesson plan, the blueprint of your life, which traces the major and minor events that you will endure. Not everything. Some things, not everything, not every tiny little thing. And of course, there's many things you go through aren't there to right past wrongs. A lot of that is just to round out, right? As to become a perfect spirit, you need to have experience in many things. You need to be, rich. You need to be poor. You need to be humble. You need, maybe you're in charge of a great army. All these things you will be given, So karma doesn't, completely rule your life. It's a lot of it is you need this experience, right? You need to be exposed to this type of thing, right? It's just like a kid. It's we expose them to things, even though they may not understand it, but they'll think about it later. Oh, Gabriel says he just finished the gospel at home with my children. Oh, and he says, as soon as we did, I got it. Let me read this comment because it looks good. I got it in Facebook and saw this live. Oh, that's great, Gabriel. So we're here talking about a constructive speech. So I was just saying, so not everything is done because of karma. Some things are just done, just to help you grow. And, and this, it's like doing math and multiplication over and over again. Your patience is tested. Well, just, make sure you keep your patience, right? So those are the things. So again, but most of the major ones, are there for one reason only, to help you improve and grow, to modify your character and personality, to be able to enter the spirit realm ready to ascend. I cannot stress enough how how much better you will be off when you get rid of your physical body and go in the spirit realm, and already you're starting to learn how to control your thoughts. I am sure it will make a huge difference. Now, so therefore, complaining about your life is the same as your child complaining about school, right? When I just said, you tell your wonderful and beautiful offspring, stop complaining. I think everyone done that to your kids. Learn what the teacher is trying to teach you. The more you try to complain, you're just blocking out the lesson that is trying to be imparted to you. So, and why do you say that? You love the child, but you know they must learn how to learn, and they must accumulate enough knowledge to make them a responsible adult. The spirit world sees us in the same light. The courses have been carefully planned out, all with our benefit in mind. A billion variables, our parents, our friends, our accidents, our spouses, our careers, all have been traced out to make our life on earth as fruitful as possible. Not for our pleasures so much, but for our edification, our education, and transformation from immaturity to maturity, right? We are on the planet of atonement. We are relatively immature souls. We will mature. It will happen, no matter how much we try to deny it. Eventually it will catch up to us. And so the next message is don't give up, right? The spirit world doesn't want us to give up. The road to self improvement, to constructive speech, is not without great hurdles and disappointments. Restructuring your entire outlook and basic philosophical foundation is not a trivial task. The doctrine of Spiritism helps you in this, and it's revelatory, and it tells you why you should restructure your philosophy. And then think of how hard this is. Think of the revolution of ideas that must have occurred for the disciple of Jesus, right? In the book Jesus in the Home by the spirit Neo Lucio, psychographed by Chico Xavier, a taste of the difficulty of changing everything you've learned is discussed. Now, the book Jesus in the Home is a great book, and it records dialogues with Jesus and his disciples in the homes of several of his apostles. Many of the conversations took place in Peter's house, where at the end of the day, his close followers would discuss what Jesus had revealed, and they would ask for clarification and guidance. And sometimes they would express their frustration in their ability to transform themselves into the vision laid out before them by the teachings of Christ. Now, think about this. Think about how we should forgive our enemies, forgive 7 times 7. How that was just so, that was like, you're kidding me. You know, that was not part of what it was at, year zero, right? In BC before Christ, it was like, no, if someone, it's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Someone does something to you, you do them right back, right? That was about power and pride, right? So think about how hard it was for these people, like, to hear this and get into that mindset, right? So in one such gathering, there you go. Yes, Jacob, pretty easy going. I know that. And so that's a great foundation, right? So in one such gathering, Thaddeus expresses great concern over his ability to spread the gospel to humanity when his mind is full of conflicting thoughts. We all have that, right? Then Andrew joins the conversation with this lament. This is what Andrew said: Master, what will become of me? By your side, I am an obedient sheep, but when I'm away from you, all it takes is one meaningless word of misunderstanding to undo me. I can't put up with insult or injury. Is it right for me to continue to teach others to practice the good when I believe myself to be so bad and imperfect? And then Peter interrupted, and Peter said, on my part, I see that I am no more than a miserable, indebted, and very imperfect spirit. I am the worst of all. Every night when I go off of myself for my daily prayers, I'm perplexed by the sudden inner courage with which I am embracing my current commitments. My weakness is great. My debts are enormous. How am I to serve the sublime principles of the new kingdom if I am so insufficient and incomplete? So what are they telling us? So neither Thaddeus, Andrew, nor Peter felt themselves making dramatic progress. All were frustrated with the pace of recasting their philosophy and rewiring their responses to the daily trials of life to conform to positive thought and action. So Jesus listened to this. Then he listened to this and he smiled, and this is what he told them. In reality, the paradise that we dream of is still very far away, and I don't see any winged disciples here. In my opinion, the angels in heavenly dress have yet to find a home on the rough and dark ground upon which we walk. We are students of the good on the way to the Father, and we shouldn't belittle the blessed opportunities to grow towards Him. Just as the grapevine reaches for the sky after being born in the dark bosom of the earth, spreading out mercifully to produce comforting wine for everyone's happiness. If you declare yourself to be weak, hardened, and evil debtors, but are not the first ones to work so that you become strong, redeemed, dedicated, and good to benefit the overall work of salvation, it doesn't look like to me like the angels should descend from the glory on the Most High to replace you on the field of earth lesson. Medicine, above all, is for the patient, learning for the unlearned. Otherwise, I think the gospel of salvation would disappear because it's inadequate and useless. What was he telling his disciples? He was telling them it is the trajectory that is important. They were striving to do their best. That is all is expected. You're not going to completely rewire your brain. You're not going to completely reform your characteristic, your personality in one lifetime. That is, I mean, maybe someone's done it. I don't know, but I doubt that can be done. We've had eons of primitive emotions, and we are just slowly have to replace those with more advanced notions. So striving for bettering ourselves, this is all that is expected. The fact that the disciples were valiantly trying to remake themselves means they were performing exactly as they should be. The spirit world does not expect this. To read or hear a passage of how to behave and presume an immediate change. They well know the time and effort it takes to break down old habits and to reform primitive emotions which could rise up at any slight provocation. This is a daily and often hourly struggle. We just need to keep observing ourselves and continue to instill new habits of positive thinking and speaking. And then, as Sylvia says to Jacob, in my past experience, all of our challenges are usually lessons to be learned. It depends on how to look at them. So, very good. Exactly. It's exactly what is the way to look at it, is to look at everything as a learning experience. And when you can do that, it makes, I think it's almost a miracle occurs, is that it's like your stress level goes down, like, oh, okay, another lesson. It's not like I did something wrong or why is this terrible thing happening to me? You just say, oh, okay. And you may like be tired of another lesson. Not bad, you can complain a little bit, everyone does. But if you can just look at it that way, it's not like anyone's attacking you. They're actually helping you. So how else? So, we know that we just make baby steps, right? And how else do we help create constructive speech? And then a lot of that is to first listen, right? So an important aspect is to listen. So to listen first before you speak. And there's guidance on this from the Spirit Emmanuel, again, wonderful spirit who is Chico's mentor, in the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life. And in James chapter 1, verse 19, this is what he says from the Bible. But everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And then the chapter goes on as, what does this mean? How can this help us? This Emmanuel says, analyzing, reflecting, and pondering are actually all forms of listening. It is essential for people to always be ready to determine the meaning of the voices, suggestions, and situations around them. Otherwise, it is impossible to carry out the simplest task in the ministry of the good. Only after listening carefully can a person speak in an edifying manner while on the pathway to evolution. Those who listen, learn. Those who speak, teach. One keeps, the other spreads. In the good experience, only those who keep can spread successfully. Therefore, James' advice represents an undying appropriateness. It is important to remember that just as people should be quick to listen and moderate with their words, they should be slow to anger. Of course, each and every day, the human pathway offers various reasons to act quickly. However, whenever possible, it is best to put off till the next day any expression of anger, for that will provide an opportunity to examine the matter more wisely, and the cause of the anger may disappear. We should bear in mind that all are born to carry out specific functions. If they always listen, they can be sure that they will serenely achieve this purpose for which they are destined. But if they are always talking, they may lose sight of their endeavor halfway through it. And if they are always getting angry, they will probably not accomplish anything at all. Now, that's very true words from Emmanuel. And it shows the spirit world perfectly understands this. They have lived in the same shoes as we have. They have experienced the deluge of 1,000 different pinpricks attacking their calm demeanor. Oh, is a good speaker a good listener first? Yes, I've been absolutely, Gabriel. In order to speak well, you need to listen well, and especially in circumstances. Now, if there's just an orator and they want to bring a thing and they just learn how to, speak to oratory, even that, in order to know how to convince people and how to talk to people, one needs to listen to people. What do people want? What do people want? What it motivates people? And what's important, and what's important to that person. Because the other thing is when you look at the history and you look at stories of near-death experiences, and when people are in and they're meeting other spirits, and I've seen quite a few of these where someone goes through and they see their past, and they get mad at someone, right? But now, and they're in the spirit world, they see what they can actually understand what the other people are thinking. And what invariably they see what other people are thinking is there's some pain or something that hurt that person, and they're trying to do their best. They actually want to do their best, but there's some other extenuating circumstances, and that's why we should listen to them and try to figure out. Most people, most of the time, I think the great majority of the time, are not consciously trying to hurt other people or are trying to give you pain. And so always kind of remember that. But that's why it's good to listen and to analyze and to be slow to anger. So learning to filter out the trivial and reflect upon the major distractions is part of our training. Guiding our inner selves to the path of perfection is like flying a jet, right? We can't jerk the pedals or the plane will spiral out of control. When we see danger ahead, we need to analyze, plan, and then act. Our actions involve speaking. Speak when you have understood the circumstances and the enduring effect of your proposed actions. That's another important thing. Think through the ramifications of what you think you're going to be saying. Visualize the possible future options and your next move after that, and what that person may do, right? Because of what you said. Only then should you act. Look, we're not there yet, but high creative spirits, when I read the books by G. Owen, and you'll see in the books, behind me, Heaven and Below, the spirits in the spirit universe, how spirits guide us, this over and over again, this message is told us is high spirits, when they plan, they say, okay, I'm going to do this and then that will happen. And that's how most of us plan, right? That's how I plan. No, they think, okay, I'm going to cause this to occur. Then this will happen. Then this, and then this, and then it will grow in itself, right? They think through everything to the logical conclusion. Years, centuries, millennia ahead. Now, and that's why we're here. This is why we're here, to start learning how to think like that, to think about it's like with children. If you have children and you want them to never do something that you like, never go out in the street. They'll never touch that, or let's say they touch something valuable, never do that again. Well, you could is severely punish them. And of course, that would teach them never to do that one thing you didn't like again. But that would be a horrible thing to do. Horrible, because then they would be afraid to do anything, right? You may want to say, okay, please don't do that. Let's talk this through. And of course, they may do it again, but you just reinforce that. But if you wanted to fix something right away, you would actually destroy that poor little life, right? You would never want to do that. You'd never want to harm a child so severely that for them to never touch anything, right? And that's how the high creative spirits, they plan. We're here to make mistakes, right? We're like children, and sometimes making mistakes is the best thing we can do, right? Because then we learn. We know that with our children too. So high spirits, angels, lords of the higher plane, understand the need to approach every challenge with first understanding the situation, the entire problem, and the atmosphere around it, and the cause. They analyze the possible solutions, not just the immediate aftermath, but the long-term consequences. They build into their solutions the ability to grow and become better. Now, this all appears, what I'm saying is to be rather complicated and time consuming. But isn't this exactly what you do, as I said before, with your children every day? You weigh the pros and cons and long term effects of every action you take with your child. As I said before, if they do something wrong, it would be easy to punish them severely, for they would be so frightened they'd never make that mistake again. But wouldn't that set up a general wariness of doing anything? Wouldn't that instill a fear of their parent? Therefore, correcting their course must be subtle if the parent wishes the child to retain their ability to explore. The parent desires the child to be prepared to act and then learn from their mistakes. Imagine if we took the same care for any of our reactions to other people who intrude upon our lives. This is not easy, right? Because our patience isn't as great, right, with others. Instead, we listened to them, understood their point of view, and examined their circumstances and reasons for their actions. Then and only then did we compile our response and reply with the good of that person in mind. The world would be a different place. It would be a world similar to heaven, where love is at the forefront. Now, that is not to say that we should let everyone who's in the past have done us harm or have been a disruptive influence into our life and try and listen and try and fix that for them. Sometimes, in fact, many times, when you listen to that person and you think, that person's going to have to learn the hard way. And then the right thing to do is say, no, I'm sorry, our relationship could be at an end. Sometimes that's the right thing. So I'm not saying to always open yourself and keep helping. Even in the spirit world, when I was reading, they were talking about when people take passes and they're either in a church or a temple or at a spiritist meeting. And the spirits will say, okay, we'll give passes and we'll help this person. And Andre Louise was at this. And what happened is, they gave passes, and Andre Louise looked at this one person who was in not very good shape. And he asked the spirit, well, what do you do for this person? He goes, well, this person has had many opportunities to improve. We have given them many signs and signals to improve. But we have the rule of 10. We help them 10 times. And if they don't understand what we're trying to tell them and the signs and signals along the way, then we say, okay, go learn the hard way. Sometimes you have to do the same thing. So I'm not saying being a pushover for anyone, because a lot of people will just attach themselves to you and just use you up. And it's better for you to say, okay, I think you need to be out in the real world. And really your constructive speech would say, okay, you need to learn some reality, and I'm going to help you get that reality. I'm going to let you be on your own. So I just want to make sure I'm not telling anybody to be a pushover or anything. So what's the next step? Well, the next step is really then when you dialogue with the person you think you can help, and that is to have a good dialogue with them, a good conversation. And the Spirit Emmanuel sent this message to a spiritist meeting, and this was in the book Spiritual Wisdom, Mysteries of Home. And this is what he said about a constructive dialogue. Observe the extension of human suffering and make your speech into an instrument of relief, and peace. You will find infirm individuals of the soul around you appearing from every place, some with psychological maladjustments from other existences, presenting obscure traumas in the mental field. Others who could not fulfill their commitments and who now wander in this world in self-loathing. Desperate others who walk the fine line between delinquency and a productive life. And the afflicted ones, almost all of them tied to the process of anguish. They're all infirm individuals of the soul who must be medicated first and foremost with curative dialogue. At home, have compassion with your relatives and try to radiate the light of understanding that might establish tranquility and safety. In the workplace, as much as possible, transform yourself into a cleanser of bitter confidences, substituting goodness for incomprehension and blessings for acrimony. In public manifestation, select concepts that promote ideas and opinions so you may not stimulate violence or discord. And in public places, mobilize solidarity and kindness, decreasing the tiredness and loneliness felt by the companions who bear conflicts and trials that you may perhaps ignore. Do not carry your speech with fulminating vibrations when surprised by the intemperance of others. Otherwise, besides not curing the infirm, you will become even sicker yourself, especially under circumstances when facing particular adversaries or supposed aggressors. Place yourself in the other person's situation and imagine how your reactions would be if someone spoke to you with bitterness and a lack of consideration. The denser the clouds in the environment, the deeper the mental imbalances around us. The more dissonance embraces us, the more necessary it is for us to elicit a curative dialogue capable of suppressing infirmities and obsessions at the incipient. Regardless of the circumstances you find, blend your words with kindness and understanding. We all know that sufferings, tears, and fires of dissent and tribulations are all abundant on earth. The Lord, however, does not expect from us any miraculous formulae that will immediately extinguish the fires of agitation. However, wherever we are and with whomever we are, He asks us to provide a glass of cold water. That's very well said. There's no better survey of constructive speech that I have found than was sent to us from the spirit realm via the Spirit Emmanuel to the late great Brazilian medium, Chico Xavier. Jacob says, doesn't everyone as a conscious being get emotional at one point or another? Absolutely. He says, I usually don't get angry, certainly not nearly as much as I used to, but once in a while, if I feel like I've had more than my share of stress or trouble at once a time, I feel it's natural to get frustrated and say I need a break. I also certainly agree with that. You don't want to punish your children too severely. So yes, absolutely. As I've said so many times, this is a good way to kind of end what we're talking about. Again, I don't want to say that I'm expecting everyone to become little perfect little angels, and that's what Jesus told his apostles. Is as Jesus said, I don't see the angels down here. Now, I don't see the wings on you. You're here for a reason. You're here to slowly get better, and you're not going to be this perfect patient. Like Buddha, right? Buddha was, it was just a wonder. And Socrates, right? They were just wonderfully patient, didn't lose their temper. We're not that advanced spirits, right? We're not there yet. Maybe some people are. I know I am not, right? So therefore, take yourself at a slow pace. Try what you can, but don't get discouraged when you step back a bit. And just recognize, didn't do too well that time. I'll just try and get better next time. It's the spirit Joanna Downs just said. When you make a mistake, that arrow is left to quiver. That arrow is gone, right? Analyze what you did. Just try and get better. You are not no one here. Well, at least I believe so. I could be wrong, but no one, I believe, is going to be dramatically improve your character and personality fast, right? I have been doing spiritism, I don't know, more than 10 years now. I'm still not anywhere what I would love to be, but I know I have improved. And I know in talking to, people who have been listening and people I've been talking to, I have seen their improvement. And it has been remarkable. And I think most people feel much better when I go to spiritist meetings, not only here and in Rio, and it's just these people they're just wonderful to be around. It's amazing when you're with people who are positive and speak constructively. You don't hear these negative things. You don't hear about how Uncle so and so did something stupid, right? You just hear you talk constructively. You reinforce each other, and there could be some gossip and so forth, but it's usually pretty minor and it's it's probably tried to be constructive so someone can understand the circumstances of other people. So look, the bar has been set high for self-improvement. The spirit world wants us to improve, but they just want the trajectory. They want the slope, right? And it's up to us, each of us, to determine how dedicated we shall be toward reforming our thoughts and speech. And it's all it takes. It just takes, in the morning or at night, think about what you've done or didn't do, and just think, okay, I'll try to do a little bit better tomorrow. And believe me, if we can just get that first step and understand that we can cut our thoughts off. It's like your mother said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. If we can just take that one step back, and if we can't think something nice, don't think it, right? Replace it with something positive. It's going to pay dividends that you can't believe. So again, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, and so I want to say God bless everyone. Please take this video, this Facebook page, this live streaming, share it to other pages. Go to my website. Tell your friends about nwspiritism.com if they want to learn about spiritism. Again, on my website, you can go and click on to sign up for the YouTube videos. This will be on my YouTube and my BitChute channel, so you can always see this later. You can also tell other people about the YouTube or BitChute channel. And here's again. Gabriel, I'd like to know, please, whether you have any kind of audiobook or just written books. I do not have audiobooks. I have not done that. So all I have is this book is not in audio. You can get it in Kindle. And in fact, in Kindle, if you want, I don't know how good it is, but you can have Kindle actually read the book to you. It's probably not like a human voice would be as good as, but I have not done audiobooks. Books yet, so I apologize for that. But what I've been trying to do is on my books, I try on my YouTube channel, like on this book right here, I go through every chapter, and if you can just listen to every chapter and so forth. Where in Washington are your spirits meeting? So there are we're here on Bainbridge Island, but there's a spiritist group in a little bit north of Seattle, and so, and you can find that in Linwood. You can find that if you go to my site, NW Spiritism, and you go to meetings, and if you read through, there'll be a site where you can go to the Spiritist Society of America site, and it will give you a list of all the sites in the United States, and it will give you contact information. So if you want to be in Seattle, you can go there and you can and find out. Oh, and then Sylvia's from Puyallup, and so so it'd be in Linwood, which is not a wonderful drive for you. And I'm worse for Bainbridge Island. Means you got to take a ferry. So think about Sylvia. Think about putting flyers in the library or Safeway or whatever store you have, and say, okay, and that's what we did. By the bakery, and say, we have, would you like to join a spiritist discussion group? I know that other people have done that. So, in the spirit world, we'll send you people. It may take a while. It took us a long time before we got people to start coming, but, then you just meet them and you start talking about spiritism, and you help other people. So, we are like a very starting of a movement here, the Spiritist doctrine, and it would be great for us, anybody can, to help other people. And believe me, the spirit world, just like people will come to me, right? People have come to me and they write me and they email me, or through Facebook Messenger or whatever ways, is it's not because of me, it's because the spirits have kind of said, oh, no, listen to this, read this book, read this article. I can tell you, people read the articles and they go, oh, I thought I was the only one that thought that, right? No, and so it's, so the spirit world, if you go and you try to get people to come to your meeting, and you try your best, the spirits on the other side will also to try and motivate people to to come and to be participants in your meeting. And if they're ready and open-minded, it will help. And some people, it won't, right? There's many people who go to spiritist meetings and they'll go, no, I'm not interested, which is okay. There's nothing wrong in that. That will just be put in their memory for, maybe 5-10 years from now or another life. It's no big deal. Okay. So I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and God bless everyone for listening to me. And again, please share and share your thoughts in Spiritism and help other people. And I want to say, again, God bless everyone. Good night.